Welcome back, everybody, to The Grid. My name is RC, and I am joined by a bunch of different hosts today. First off, we have Mr. Corey Barker. What's going on, man? How are you?
What's going on? Good to see it.
A lot of stuff
going on, yeah.
So there's quite a bit of stuff coming on. Now, let's just kind of get it out of the way. Scott is on tour right now. Mm-hmm. He just left Austin, and he's headed somewhere else other than Austin. Mm-hmm. So we've got Corey here. We've got Pete here. We have Brandon Heiss from Westcott, who's going to join us also in the show. There's just a lot of things that are coming from a new standpoint. We figured we would just kind of use the show to talk about a lot of these different new things.
Sure.
Now, if you're on the website, make sure that you log into kelbytv.com/thegrid. You're probably watching it there already, and make sure that you join us in on the chat. I would also appreciate it if you guys would go over to Twitter and tell people about it. So go inside of there, and I'm just going to show you what to do. So we'll go over here, and all you have to do is just say, "Come watch the grid." Now let's just say, "Come watch #the grid live." And then just type in http://kelbytv.com/thegrid with @AboutRC, @PeteCPhoto, and Corey PS3D. And @Westcott Go. So that would be a great thing for you to do. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in here so you guys can see that. Please do us a favor, put this on your social medias. Click on tweet, and we'll be good to go.
Media.
Now, we're going to be following the chat. We've got Pete also doing double duty for most of this kind of stuff. So we're watching on the chat. We're watching on most of this stuff. One of the first things that we want to talk about is just the Creative Cloud release. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen so already, Adobe updated a lot of their Creative Cloud apps. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you go over to your Creative Cloud section right here, and inside of here under apps, you should see that there's a series of updates that need to happen. If you want to see what they've talked about in terms of the new things for the Creative Cloud, the best thing for you to do is just to go over to this one section and let's just close all of this stuff out. Now, come back over here. And inside of here, you can see all of the different versions, all of the different things that you were taking a look at.
Yeah.
And update most of that stuff. Big changes. Mm-hmm. So they've done stuff to Photoshop.
Yep.
They've done stuff to Lightroom.
Yep.
They did some stuff to Lightroom. They've done some stuff to InDesign, to Illustrator. Premiere is doing
a lot of the major apps pretty much got something.
Right, and you saw some of this stuff when you were out at Adobe Max.
That's right. They did, in fact, to demonstrate a lot of these new features, and some of them changed since then, but a lot of them they were demoed at the live event, and it was got a lot of people excited about it. So now they're finally available.
So one of the things that why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and actually just jump in on a couple of different things to do this? Now I'm going to tell you guys right off the bat, if you want to see some of this stuff in depth and as it pertains to the Photoshop side, I'd like for you to come over here. Go over to KelbyOne.com/CC2015. Inside of here, this is our Photoshop CC Learning Center. What we've done here, like Pete's a little frozen right there, right? That's not too bad. But inside of here, if you click on this playlist, you have an entire class that talks about all of the different things here. So we start from the very, very beginning, and inside of here, we'll cover all of the new features that you have inside of Photoshop. So I don't want to necessarily show you something and have you guys be like, I don't know where to get it, or I don't know how to be able to access all of that stuff. It's all set up for you guys. It's all for free. All you need to do is just go over to KelbyOne.com/CC2015, and all of that stuff will be available to you there. Now, that's pretty much all of the stuff that from a class standpoint. I do want to point out a couple more things while we're at this. Make sure that you go over to KelbyOne.com/CyberWeek. Right? Mm-hmm. If you are not a member of KelbyOne, come and take a look at this. We'd sure love to have you guys there. Go over to KelbyOne.com/CyberWeek, and inside of there, you'll find some great discounts about stuff membership for our organization. I think it'll be a good thing for you guys to take a look at. Now, take a look at this. I'm going to start this off by just showing the new splash screen. I do like the splash screen.
Splash screen's very nice. Yeah.
I do think it looks like it's pretty cool, right? But one of the first things that you'll see is that the UI has changed substantially.
I'm really digging it.
It's new, right? Like it's and I think that this is something that you're going to see across different devices and PCs and Macs are going to see the exact same thing. I like it. I like what they've done with most of this stuff. I think that the UI looks very sharp. I think it looks crisp. That part I'm pretty excited about. But it's the changes that they've done with the inclusion of 3D elements that I think are really important about this. And now you do a lot of work on the 3D side of it. What makes you excited about all of the stuff that's happened with the Adobe release?
Well, one of the major things they demoed at Max is something called Fuse. And some of you may know there was recently Adobe acquired a company called Mixamo, which was it's basically an online 3D model builder. It's kind of started as a gaming platform where you could build characters for gaming, build an avatar or something like that.
Okay.
So they acquired this, and now they've integrated this functionality kind of into Photoshop. It's not really in Photoshop. It's still a standalone app. It's called Adobe Fuse. And it's part of this major update. You can actually go into your Creative Cloud and download it. And I just want to show a quick demo of the Fuse application here because it's really intuitive and a lot of fun when you get in here and play around with creating different types of 3D characters. So you can see this is what the interface looks like when you launch it. Very simple, and it actually kind of guides you in a very interesting way. You can go right over here to the menu and start by just grabbing a generic head to start with. So let's just say I wanted to do, let's do a female. And I'm told the scans, if you see the labels that say scan, tend to be a little bit more realistic than the other ones. So any of the labels that say scan. So you can see it puts the head right inside of my interface here. And I can click and move around. It's got very fluid movement when you're editing and wanting to change certain things about the model. Now you can actually hover your cursor over various parts of the face and modify those elements of the face. I could spread my eyebrows apart. Perhaps if I wanted her to be a Vulcan, I could push her ears out. So you see that? Oh, there you go. Very nice. So again, you can go in here and just do all kinds of things. But let's go ahead and add the rest of the body. Go ahead and piece it together. Let's go ahead and throw some legs on here. And maybe some arms. I'm going to go ahead and leave her as a Vulcan because we'll just... But you got these tabs up here, these 4 major tabs at the top. So you got Assemble, Customize, Clothing, and Texture. So when you go into Customize, you can actually go in here and scroll through and all these various elements of the body. You've got upper arm, you can modify the arms. You can go in here and modify aspects of the face if you want her to have a kind of a goofy look on her face, or you just kind of push the slider up. And the slider is kind of a degree of the, so if you want her to have a goofy look, the more and more you slide it over, the more and more it gets more of a goofy look on the face there. You can go in here and modify areas of the face and head, but you can also, remember, it's right on the body. You can actually grab it and push the belly in and out. If only it was this easy to lose weight in real life. But sadly it isn't. But let's go ahead and put some clothes on her. I'm sure she's a little embarrassing with her pointy ears and no clothes. So again, we're going to go over here to the clothing section. You start with the tops, so we'll go ahead and throw a shirt on her. And we can go down here to the bottoms and we'll put some pants on her there and go ahead and throw some shoes on. And just scroll through here and you see all kinds of different options you have. We'll put some combat boots on her, why not? Because we can. And hair, she of course needs some hair, so let's go ahead and throw some, so now she looks like from The Hobbit.
Dressed up Hobbit. Somebody, KelbyOne just said on the chat, said, a real doll designer.
Yeah. So again, you have a lot of options. You can go in here and add eyewear and gloves and masks. There's a lot of really cool things you can go in here and just play around with, and then of course modify the individual features. Just go ahead and navigate. You can move it around. If you want to move a little closer to it, and just edit these features. Let's scroll down here. So again, let's go back real quick to the face here. If I want to have her looking confused, so there you can see that. That's almost getting scary there. Happy, we'll go really happy. That's like scary happy, I don't know. That's
pretty intense that you could do all of that stuff just right on sliders.
Right on sliders, or again, right on the character as well. Now, once you have got your character built and everything's looking the way you want it, and of course I would probably spend a little bit more time doing this, but once you've got it ready, the cool part is right up here you got these tabs up here. One is to save to Mixamo, which is the actual web-based interface where you can apply animations and do other things, but you can also save it to your CC library. And this is the huge leap with this new update, is that when you save it to your CC library, it's going to go up to the cloud, go into your cloud folder, and then when you go back to your Photoshop, when you go back in Photoshop and bring up your libraries panel, it's going to allow you to bring it in and be able to use the 3D lighting and all those various aspects of that are already part of 3D in Photoshop, adjust lighting and adjust the camera angles and all that, and you can actually do a pretty impressive composite right inside Photoshop. In fact, here's an example of something I did yesterday. So that model was done entirely in Fuse, brought it into Photoshop, and what you can do is apply these preset algorithms of animations. And you just apply it, and you actually see the character run through in motion, and you just basically freeze frame it. And you just move the camera around, and you're able to go ahead and position it and light it, and you can actually create really interesting composites without even having to walk into a photo studio. So.
And I think that part is pretty cool. Like 29531 says, Corey, this is a photography-related show, which it's not. It's a show that talks about all sorts of different things. We just happen to have a leaning towards photography.
Yeah.
This is something that is, we also talk about a lot of Adobe stuff, of which this is a part of. Can you tell us what circumstances we'd use 3D features? It'd be helpful to know, considering most people use iPhones these days to take photos according to this article. Like, where would you use 3D stuff? I know I could probably actually answer most of that stuff. There's a lot of photographers that don't necessarily just work in photography.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things. I mean, photographers that take pictures for textures that are really designers.
Right. I mean, and that's just it. There's so many different things you can do with 3D in Photoshop now. Is again, the being able to bring these models in. This is just new. This is like a day old, but what. A lot of things, and I've had this question before. Photographers ask me, what can I do with 3D in Photoshop? If you get in there, there's a lot really cool things you can do to add special effects to your images. I've actually used it to enhance lighting. I've used 3D lighting in two-dimensional images. I've actually pulled layers of an image to create like a multi-layer, three-dimensional, like a parallax.
I was just thinking about that the video that you did with Brad's picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can actually pull elements of a photo and travel through a photo. I've seen people use it for promo images or little promo videos on their social media and such like that. So it isn't just the obvious, here's 3D text or here's a 3D model, what can I do it as a photographer? Because you're in Photoshop, you're able to create something called 3D postcards. You can take a flat two-dimensional image, put it in three-dimensional space, and actually, so let's say you wanted to put an image on a perspective wall. You can get the perspective pretty accurate by using 3D. I mean, there's a lot of different uses for it other than just the obvious things of extruding text and other things like that.
Right. I mean, and this is one of those things that they were just talking about is from an if standpoint. Right. And I think that one of the things that we try to propose from a creative standpoint is that if you're a photographer, you might want to consider all of these other things. You might want to consider your hand at playing with some of these types of design things or adding elements to it. The picture that you talked about, I'm gonna put you on the spot to see if you can actually find that video, the one that you did of Brad's picture. While you do that, I think that looking at photography just as the sake of photography, like I went out, here's a picture of a bird, here's a picture of a cool sunset. I think it would do you well to experiment and explore with all of these different types of things that are out there. Like, all right, so Corey's got it up there. Wow, that was fast.
Well, I knew it's right on my Facebook because I had posted it.
Oh, okay.
Back,
so like this is a picture.
So yeah, this was a two-dimensional. Brad Moore is of course Scott's photography assistant. He does a lot of concert photography. Right. So I asked him to give me one of his images, and this is what he sent me, and I actually pulled it apart and was able to do this. Now this is, of course, using the 3D features in Photoshop, being able to pull the image apart in various layers and then making the camera travel through it. All this is done in Photoshop. I added the flares as an After Effect, type of, not using After Effects, but it was an After Effect that I used and I applied inside Photoshop. So again, just another aspect of looking at 3D a little differently, in that you can do more with photographs and flat two-dimensional images than you probably think you could.
Right, and I think that Adobe's kind of leading the charge on bringing a lot of that stuff together for people and making it a lot easier.
They've made it tremendously easier. I mean, I actually didn't really come from a three-dimensional background. I never really got into, as much as I would have loved to learn programs like Maya or 3D Max or something like that. It's just the learning curve was just so ridiculous. I got into Photoshop, started playing with it, and it really didn't take me long at all. I was able to integrate it into my design and illustrated workflow really quickly and easily.
I think that's one of the. I think that's probably one of the things that it's not Adobe's problem to solve, truthfully. But I think that one of the bigger challenges that people have in this space is knowing when to use it, or knowing how to use it, or to knowing what instances to be able to use it. Because I look at something like that and I go, oh wow, 3D inside of a picture where you travel through it. You know what? that'd be a good way for you to post stuff on Facebook or post stuff on YouTube or post stuff on Instagram, where you can kind of get a different spin on looking at a picture. You know, I think we're at a point where we need to start taking a look at our photography and kind of turning it on its head and going, what kind of different things can we do with that? And I think that,
and I think it goes to, it's the same way I learned. It's just like I didn't really know I could do something in Photoshop until I saw somebody do it. And I was just like, oh, you can do that. You know, and it's just a matter of knowing it's possible and then going in there and just playing with it. That's how you make a breakthrough.
Now, there's a bunch of different things that we can cover in terms of most of that stuff. I would say this: if you want, make sure that you go over. There's a bunch of stuff, right? We have a small amount of time to do that, but this is probably one of the biggest features, and I think that it was something that's worth mentioning it. If you want to see all of the different changes that they've done inside of the class, make sure that you go back over here, go to KelbyOne.com/CC2015, and some of that stuff will be there. John SWM said, how long does that new 3D modeling relate to 3D printing? Could you make a character and print it out?
Theoretically, yes, because once it's in Photoshop, it's pretty much treating it like any other 3D object. Now, I do have a 3D printer in my office. I have not tested a Fuse model printout yet, but I'm definitely wanting to do that. I had a couple other people ask me that too. But I think in theory, based on what I've seen in the model so far, I think it's doable.
Okay, 3D model of an AT-AT.
So that,
Printed.
We're gonna make our own action figures, though. We gotta do that. So. Okay. Well, one more question here. So
do you think Photoshop will be more and more? Will it go more and more 3D oriented? If you had to guess.
If I had to guess, I don't know. There is going to be a point where it becomes a little too much. I mean, if we remember Corel Draw a long time ago, I feel like that one of the things that didn't work with that is that they put too much in it.
Right.
It became just a massive amount, and to do one thing, you really got to kind of find yourself a way around the program. I don't know if they're at a point where they were like, are we going to stop adding all these 3D stuff? You know, I don't know if they're at that point yet.
Because the stuff they've added is pretty good.
The stuff they added is pretty good, but we know how much of a processor cruncher 3D is, and just what 3D is in Photoshop now can be pretty processor intensive. So if they add too much more, it's probably going to ask a lot of your processor. You're going to need like the most powerful system available just to run it. So I think they're going to reach a point where they got to start thinking, where do we go from here? Do we detach it? Do we do something else? I don't know. But let's just say that I like where it's going so far, and I'm sure they got it in good hands.
Right. Yeah. Now, one of the comments that we saw in the chat that I wanted to make sure that we talked about, like somebody said something about, I hope Corey does a class on it soon. And you do have some 3D classes. Mm-hmm. Go take a look at that page right now, the KelbyOne, the Photoshop CC Learning Center. We cover all of the features that are there, and that's there for free. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that it's a free service.
I am working on a new class right now that is Fuse and Photoshop together to build a fully realized composite. So,
right.
Yeah.
So most of that stuff you will also see over on the KelbyOne website. If you want to take a look at that website, it's brand new, it's designed, and all of that stuff will be there as well. Yeah. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. I want to bring Pete in to talk about a couple of other things that we talked about in the Illustrator space, which I think was another thing that was a really nice upgrade to the Creative Cloud. We'll do that right when we come back.
All right.
I'm Kaylee Greer. In this class, you're going to learn how to get the best photos possible out of your dog, how to work with your dog and keep him engaged and interested, how to capture action shots of your dog flying at about a gazillion miles an hour. We're going to take a trip to the shelter to learn how to work with shelter dogs and give them a second chance through photography. Come check out my new class on KelbyOne.com.
Hey everybody, Scott Kelby here, and I want to invite you to my brand new class. It's called Location Lighting Secrets. We're going to be starting off in the studio and then heading right out the door to 4 different locations for 4 different shoots. We're going to be shooting athletes like Brandon back here. We're going to be shooting stroboscopic and really cool stuff that you can do with this new incredible setup that I'm using. And then lastly, we're going to do some event photography, some real running and gunning stuff at a wedding. And you're going to see how it's all done from start to finish. I got some great photo tips. I got all kinds of little ideas for you and concepts for you to try the next time you're doing your location lighting. So come and check out my brand new class, Location Lighting Secrets, exclusively here at KelbyOne.
Welcome back, everybody. RC here on the grid. This time I'm joined by Mr. Pete Collins. What's going on, man? How are you?
Howdy. Good.
Doing all right?
Doing all right.
Doing all right. There's been a lot of stuff that's been going on here in terms of just like all of the software updating, and it's kept us a little busy for most of this kind of stuff. But Pete, I'm glad you were able to kind of free yourself for a little bit to talk about this. There's been a lot of changes on the Creative Cloud, so we've talked a little bit about the Photoshop side of things. I think you had something else that you wanted to do in Photoshop and maybe some stuff in Illustrator. But before we do, can I just steal the show for a couple more seconds on this? Make sure that we go take a look at another change that we have here, which was in InDesign. And this was something that I thought was really neat. More and more people are using InDesign for all sorts of different types of things. But InDesign is largely seen as this kind of print-based something. You're making books and you're making magazines and you're making collateral that does all that stuff. And they've been doing a lot of changes to this where it's, you can use it for websites and you can use it for slideshows and more multimedia stuff, which I think is a really good thing. I spent a lot of time in InDesign. So imagine my surprise when now you have this option over here called File, and right off the bat, you can do something called Publish Online Preview. Take a look. This I thought was really neat. It's one of those like little things where you're just like, imagine that. That's kind of cool. So you can have an entire InDesign thing laid out, and you just go to Publish Online, and this is just a chapter of my HDR book. But look, here's things that I thought that were really neat. Publish a new document or update an existing document. So technically, you could have a book, magazine, website, all sorts of different things that you would do, that you would print. And if you needed to be able to make changes to this thing on the fly, add information on the fly, you could do this right off the bat. Just open up the InDesign document, add more stuff to it, update, and then it updates everywhere else where you have that. That part I think is pretty neat. Now, I'm going to do all pages in this section, and I'm going to export them as spreads because it's a book, and you even have an option to let people download this as a PDF. Now, because I believe that this will take a little bit of time for us to be able to do this, publish it and send it up, I'm just going to hit OK here, and I'm going to publish all of that information, and then we can go ahead and shift over into Photoshop and Illustrator and things like that. And then we'll come back and I'm going to show you the other stuff that we have from there. So I'm going to go ahead and cook that. But I thought it was a great addition to InDesign with this new release. So kudos to Adobe for that as well. Now, Pete, what do you want to talk to us about today? Which one do you want to start with first?
I can start with either one. You want me to go to Illustrator since we haven't touched on it, or you want me to stay in Photoshop?
No, stay in Photoshop.
Okay.
Photoshop's kind of cool.
There are a couple great things in here, and for you designers in there, a couple really neat things. Well, first of all, if you'll notice, there's a new UI. It looks a little different, but the great thing is you can come in, and I got to get closer to the microphone, they say. All right, so you can come in, and if you go to Edit and come down here to Toolbar, you can now customize your toolbar, and you can take and put any of the extra tools that you never work with or rarely work with and throw them over here, so that now your toolbar is set up specifically for the tools that you're going to use the most. And it's a great way for you to speed up your workflow. You don't think about it, but how often you go, okay, I'm almost always using the quick selection tool rather than the magic wand. Well, so now I've got that set up so that it's the first one you see. And that's just a neat speed flow thing there. The second thing is text, how it handles text. By the way, this was just me playing around with Fuse earlier. I've got these two guys are straight out of Fuse that I then brought in and messed with Pixel Squid over here. If you haven't messed with Pixel Squid, definitely should check that out. But another great feature that Photoshop did was they brought in extra stuff with the type tool. So I've got the text right here on this layer, and if I drop this down, I can now see, let's make this, well, I got to bring this over a little bit. We're going to do this. Now we'll slide it over here. So you can see in real time, as you go over any of the fonts, it will show it on your screen here. So it's a live preview of everything going on there. Mm-hmm. But that's just one quick thing. If anybody knows what it's like to have to search through all your fonts, especially if you grab a lot of fonts, and I love to find fonts and use a bunch of different fonts. It's finding them that can be such a pain. And there's great shortcuts that you can sit here and scroll through each one, and that's fine for about the first 50, but you get to 200 and you're about to shoot your brains out. Well, the great news is now that you've got the ability to narrow your searches. Like if I just want
I thought
script,
that was awesome.
just
That
pull
was
up
so
all
cool.
the script ones. Well, and then it's got, if you want typekit, you've got all these different filterings in here that can speed your finding process. But one of my favorites is, let's say I do calligraphy bold right here. Well, then I can hit this button here and it will find the top 20 similar fonts to that, because a lot of times you'll find a font that looks pretty good and you're like, ooh, what fonts would be close to that and maybe have the same characteristics? So having that similar search in there is huge. And that just made me pretty happy there. Yes.
Let's just kind of leave it there.
Yeah, we'll just
move right along in that one.
And then finally, one of the best things that is improvement with the library.
Libraries, man. Libraries.
And the thing is, most people don't realize the power of these libraries to be able to have all these different resources at your fingertips that are across the board. You go and use another computer, you've got all these that you can bring up. And so you see all these different colors, things that I did using the Color mobile app and all that. But then also you've got all your downloaded brushes and icons and all kinds of stuff in the library. But even now, down at the bottom, you've got your 3D characters. And so here's a guy I did and another guy I did. They're all right there, ready to go. And it's just a lot faster, a lot better. So they did a great improvement on the libraries. If you haven't played with the libraries, you definitely need to check them out.
And I think that one of the other things that I like from libraries now, especially with what they're doing, I mean, like things like Adobe Stock. You see Adobe Stock now across a bunch of different apps. I think that part's really neat. But there's a lot of times when you're working with stuff where you could start a design inside of Photoshop, colors and themes and things like that, and you might want to bring it into InDesign. You want to carry all that stuff. I mean, Illustrator, you want to carry that stuff over. Illustrator right now does paragraph styles, character styles. So you could start with a document where you have, packaging design or something like that inside of Illustrator, and you're doing characters and paragraph styles and all that stuff. And you're like, well, this looks really good. You don't want to have to redo all of that stuff when you go into InDesign. You can carry all those styles over into InDesign for the document. So playing around in between the documents, I think that the libraries have a really good advantage to most of that stuff. And it's one of those things that I know that we're excited about bringing classes to you guys on that. So make sure that you guys stick around on the KelbyOne website and take a look at all of that kind of stuff. You'll see a lot more of how to be able to fuse all of these different classes together. I think that part is great.
And one final thing on
Okay, go
Photoshop,
ahead.
whenever you open up a new image, it pops up with this that can allow you to start to load all your assets into a library. It'll look at colors, it'll look at all kinds of different stuff, and you can say, yeah, go ahead and create a new library over here. So it automatically parses all that out for you so you don't have to do it. And that's just a neat feature. Now, you can always hit cancel, or you could say don't show again, but when you see that pop up, just know that it's trying to help you out by creating these assets that you can use in multiple platforms and put it right in your library.
Okay, I'm ready on one thing over here. Can I just do it real quick?
Yeah, you do it.
That'll get you ready for Illustrator. So all of this stuff published. This published like halfway through whatever we were talking about here. But take a look. Publish online, preview. Your document was successfully updated or uploaded. So if I click on View Document here, it's going to bring up a web page. It brings up a specific InDesign website. And look, the entire thing. All right, it's got to download, but the entire book is published online.
Yeah.
That part I thought was pretty cool. Like you come over here, oh look, here's my thumbnails for everything that I want to work on. I'm gonna go back over here, click on this one, there you go, done. If I need to make a change to this, I just upload the changes and immediately that part is taken care of. So that I thought was really neat. What I thought was also awesome about this is this part. Share on social networks. You can share this Facebook, you can share this here. You can grab this entire thing. Oh wait, I gotta do this because I thought this was neat too. Watch this. So there's my book, right? I can do full screen, which I thought was great, right? Not my Spotify, but this part right here, share, and then here, embed. You can grab the entire embed code right from this one section, post it on your own website. So you could have your own website that then turns around and references a book that's updated in real time, and Adobe will keep track of who's checking it and who people that are watching this document. So you'll have statistics that are based on this kind of stuff,
But also, you're fully editable.
and it's editable.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back and you do you could do changes to it and then just push those changes whenever you want to take a look at them. I thought that part was really neat.
That's cool.
So anyway, that's just me geeking out on the InDesign side of it. That was InDesign. Let's talk about Illustrator. What changes have you done?
All right, one of my favorite things in Illustrator that popped up is the new shaper tool, and it's right over here. If you click on it now, especially when a lot of times when you're working, you may be doing something on your laptop or whatever, you don't have as much control like you would on a tablet or Cintiq or something like this. Well, the shaper tool is really great because you click on it and you draw a line and you draw another line, you draw another one, pretty clunky, and it immediately takes your random shape or your basic shape and cleans it up and makes it a beautiful shape for you. You can do the same thing with a square. And a circle, well, that's going to be an oval. Yep. And so it's just really great that you can, in just a few minutes, create some great shapes that you can move around. But that's not all. If you come in, let's say I make a circle right here. All right. Now you see that the two, if you're used to Illustrator, you'll notice that you'll know that they're on two separate layers in a sense. One's on top of the other, and so right now they're showing that the two are there, and you get this dotted line to see where they're interacting. Well, if you do a little squiggle line in here, it'll cut that out. Or you can sit here and you can draw a cross and you can merge them all together. They've put in these great gestures and great things to be able to really create some complex shapes very quickly and very efficiently. And it's for people who love to use shapes for their base elements, this thing is going to be great.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun playing with it. And it's also great, if for nothing else, I'm always trying to create straight lines, and this thing will straighten out every line for me. And so it's just lots of potential to speed up your workflow in Illustrator, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice, great addition for something like that, especially on like compound paths and things like that for people making those kinds of designs.
Oh, one more
No,
thing.
go right ahead, please.
Okay,
please.
so but when you come in, if you're used to Pathfinder and stuff like that, I've merged these together, but look, if I hover over it, it still retains the component parts in there, so I can go back and change things again. It's not a permanent merge, and that's pretty cool, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I'll merge that down. I wish I still had the path in there, and it keeps track of all that. Even though it looks like one solid, it's got all the extra stuff in there, and so really great job with that.
29531 said, what did you do to check that? That's all in part of the shaper tool. All you're doing is just using the shaper tool.
And that's what's so cool is that it's instead of having to switch tools back and forth, I'm all just in shaper tool. It's right there. It's the circle with a pencil, and now I can come in and I can just add another triangle there, and I'm just using my, let's get a diamond, there we go. I'm just using my trackpad on the laptop, so it's not really neat until it takes over, Adobe takes over and makes it neater for me. But so there it is right there. And the nice thing is I can come in and click on something like that. If I double click, I can come in and do some neat stuff like it's live, change the corners. I can make this more sides by dragging it out. And I can change the color. Let's change it to something else. And so it's just wonderful way to interact with the shapes in here, and it's all on one tool. So you definitely need to check out the shaper tool.
Right. So you'll see more of that kind of stuff over on the KelbyOne website as we start, kind of digging in some more. And we'll have a basic class on how to be able to use it, and then we'll have some more stuff on how to be able to incorporate it into your designs and how that stuff is going to be important. Again, want to make sure that we tell you guys that the stuff that we have on the Photoshop side, if you want to see the Photoshop stuff, make sure that you go again back to the KelbyOne CC 2015 Learning Center, and right from inside of there, you might want to consider, worth mentioning, it is cyber. We are in the week of cyber. This is one of those things where I think that it's very important for you to take a look at. We have some great deals. If you want to see classes like this all year long, this is the place for you to be able to do it. So make sure that you go to KelbyOne.com/cyberweek. Let's get and take a quick break. I'm going to have Brandon Heiss is coming in from Westcott. Thank you very much, Pete.
Yep.
Thanks for stopping by for most of this stuff. We'll have Brandon Heiss from Westcott to talk to us about some new products that they have and some things that I think you guys will be really excited for. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
Hanging off a cliff or dangling out of a helicopter, Kevin Gilbert always got the shot. And when the assignment is to capture an extreme reality TV show, things can get scary. The inspirational interview that takes you inside the shows of the Discovery Channel is only on KelbyOne.
MPix Pro, the full-service online photography lab, helping you grow your business with pro-quality photo products and stellar services. Get started at mpixpro.com.
Create your own space at squarespace.com.
So we all love food. How do we get food to look amazing on camera? I'm Steve Hansen. I'm a commercial food and beverage photographer based in Seattle. And in this class, we're going to be showing you how to do just that using nothing more than a window and natural light. We're going to be covering a variety of things, how to manipulate that light, how to style the perfect egg. We're going to be shooting a breakfast table from overhead. We're going to be shooting lemonade being illuminated from the back and creating this amazing glow. And we'll be covering a multitude of additional techniques which will take your food photography to the next level. Come check out my class on food photography and styling with natural light on KelbyOne.
Welcome back, everybody. RC here on the grid. Now I am joined by Brandon Heiss from Westcott. What's going on, Brandon?
How you doing, man?
Good. Busy, running around, doing lots of different
Busy
changes.
time of the year.
It is a very busy time of the year, indeed, for you guys, for us, for everybody that's involved in this stuff. Now, Brandon, you are with Westcott.
Yes, sir.
So just give us the 35,000-foot view of what you guys do for photographers.
Sure. And it's not just photographers. As
And
we will talk about.
videographers.
Yeah, so Westcott, we actually started as a light modifier company, and now we have turned into an everything company. Everything from the backgrounds, the reflectors, the light modifiers, and what we're going to be talking about today, the lights. So lights for photographers and filmmakers alike, and
Yeah,
it's really.
And I think that's the key component with one of the reasons that we wanted to have you guys out here, because there was a bunch of different things that you guys were coming out with. I figured there's a lot of you guys that are using Westcott products. There's a lot of you that may not know about Westcott, right? And you guys do offer a lot of solutions for individuals in that space, and it's not just a photographic space; it's actually video centric as well. So we thought it'd be a good idea to just kind of give you guys a rundown of some of the different things that are out there that you might want to consider, especially for like this holiday season, and then tease out some new stuff. I'm going to start photography. Can I start? On
That's
that
where
part?
we started. Okay. So yeah, that
All
was
right.
perfect.
So I'll start on this side. The Rapid Box. So I'm a big fan of the Rapid Box system. I think that you guys have got a really, really good thing here because of one thing. This. So talk to us a little bit about this kind of design here.
The setup is, I mean,
And we're done.
That took a long time. I mean, it's literally pop in, give a quarter twist to lock it down, mount your speed light on the back, which is really important for people who are shooting optical. You still have that line of sight communication. You don't have to worry about infrared signals, not reaching the inside of a softbox. But more importantly, being able to access all of your dials if you're not using like the Canon STE3RT transmitter and anything like that. So
that part I think is really good, and I think that a lot of the times what people tend to lose sight of the fact of is that one part right there where you can do now. I like the fact that it's like quick, then you're done, right? I like that you've added this extra section here. This takes this and creates almost kind of like a beauty dish. You could put a kick plate on this, and now your softbox has become a beauty dish. And one of the first questions that came in was somebody turned around and said, when are you coming out with a deep octa? Now, your XXL, by all intents and purposes, it's relatively deep. So if you have not seen this, we're looking at a really small size one here.
And we have the larger versions that you mentioned, 36-inch, 48-inch. Those actually come. I think those might even, totally different area, but those are really cool in the fact that they have the speed ring built in. How many times have we been on a shoot, you've got a bride and a groom or just an impatient client breathing down your neck and you're bending a rod into a speed ring and you're just getting bored with it. Ellen Chrome, Pro Photo, Bowens, and Balcar. We have those speed rings built right into the larger units.
Right, and that's one of those things where it's like I'm a big fan of talking to people when it comes to gear about the investment that you make and making sure that you make the right investments in the very, very beginning. And I don't think people can really appreciate, unless you're doing it day in and day out, set up and tear down, how fast or how much of a game changer, quick setup and you're done. That part I think is a really good thing.
And portability too. I mean, takes up no room. To answer this person's question, we also have the Zeppelin, which is the deep parabolic. Not so much octa, it's really more of a round in shape, but that is certainly a solution, is the Zeppelin parabolic umbrella. Comes in 35-inch, 47-inch, and 59-inch. So check that out.
Oh, look at this. And you can do it in a strip. So there's a lot of different solutions for that. I wanted to make sure you had them here, and I was just like if you don't know about them, you should know about them. I think that part is really good.
And they've been out for a while, but there's something new.
What's the new part about this? Talk to us about this.
The new part, and I think you might have it under your chair. We now have grid options for the Rapid Boxes. So a lot of people have been asking about this. Simply slipping the grid right around the edges, and now we can focus the light, or as our friend Joel Grimes would say, reduce flare. That's a big, reason why we would use a grid on a Rapid Box or any light modifier. So.
And that's like on any standard setup that I do, it's almost always like, all right, well, I need a strip. And I never finish there. It's just strip and grid.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's almost
always. It's like the graduation process. You get the strip, you start with that, then you go up and graduate with the grid because if you think of it as a paintbrush, you don't use the same paintbrush for every job. You want that just tiny little paintbrush. That's where the grid pops in.
So it's almost always strip and grid. So it's this and grid and strip and grid. So that part I think is pretty cool. Now, this has also seen an update. Pull this out. I have to. I'm sorry. Every single time.
I've never heard that, RC.
I know, but I have to. All right. So this is the Ice Light.
Yes.
Now, single control, move it around. That part I think is pretty cool, right?
Daylight balance, digital readout.
Right. So this is pretty much. But when I'm controlling it, as I'm controlling it, basically I'm just pressing this up and down.
Correct.
To be able to do stuff.
Correct. And version 2 also has 50% more power.
Okay.
And a removable battery. So just like we would remove the battery on our camera, we now can do that with our light, charge it up, that sort of thing.
Okay, so, but my controls are just here. Like I'm not changing anything, I'm just...
All right, you're going to get something out of me. For the first time, I'm going to announce this for the first time ever here on the grid. We now have an app that we can change the output of our Ice Light. So right now it's still in beta testing. I'm searching for the device. I found it, and RC.
And then you just increase and decrease.
I'm increasing and I'm decreasing. So now,
I'm not, and it's kind of hard for you to see because obviously it's kind of blowing out stuff. But like here it is blown out, and now you're using the phone.
I will decrease it.
I am not touching it, right?
You can see it gradually go down. So that's exciting, and the app should be out here in a few weeks. And here's the greatest news: anybody who's already purchased an Ice Light 2. We've been keeping this a little bit secret. There's Bluetooth built in already.
All right, so
nothing you need to add.
So owners that already had an Ice Light.
Yep. If you bought one today, you're still going to have Bluetooth. If you bought one back in August, you have it already. You just didn't know. So there you go. First time.
Cool.
First time announcing that.
That's pretty cool. So that's still in development?
The app is just going through the final stages in the App Store right now, and then after that, we'll make a big announcement.
Of course,
we'll let you know.
John SWM just said, if you only knew the power of the Westcott side.
Yes.
I know. But I think that part is cool, and thank you for sharing that stuff.
You're welcome.
Here. I thought that was kind of neat.
You're welcome.
Let's do this, though. Those are two things that are currently out there that speak to the photographer space, and the Ice Light kind of speaks a little bit more to the pushing the video.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a crossover. What I'm really excited about is I'm a person who is a photographer with video tendencies, and I'm pushing myself into the video space, and I'm using all of the sensibilities as a photographer to work on getting some video stuff. And I think that there's a lot of you guys out there that are doing that as well. So what we want to do is we're going to take a quick break and talk about some of the products that you guys have come out with that will solve both the needs of the photographer and the needs of the person who's doing video. So we'll do most of that stuff when we get right back.
I got the opportunity to shoot in this amazing historic mansion with beautiful natural light. We didn't even have to bring any light. I posted the things online and people were like, well, yeah, you can get great shots if you shoot in this amazing location. They're absolutely right. That's what made me want to do this class. And by the way, half of the images that you just saw were not really taken at the mansion. They were done in an empty room here at our offices. That's what this class is about. You can do this all on the super cheap. We're putting the whole thing together for less than 300 bucks. You got to see it yourself. Watch my new class location light exclusively here at KelbyOne Online.
Welcome back, everybody. RC here with Brandon from Westcott on the grid. Now, I just kind of want to show you guys, I look really good when I'm particularly uplit a little bit here. I think this part looks awesome. Well, there we go. That's nice. I think it looks pretty good. I'm excited about this product. I think that this product is really cool, and it is not the ice light. It's this. I just had this on my laptop. I was playing around with it.
I literally just found a new use for
just
this light.
there you go. Anytime
Nobody saw that.
Anytime you guys are doing mentions, be like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? Why am I lit so naturally and beautifully? Oh, I don't know. Wait, I need it a little warmer because it is a little blue. Wait, I'm gonna change that. Oh, I can change all my colors right here.
You're going cool right now.
Oh no, wait.
Now you're going
Go
warm.
warmer. Balance.
There you
Man, I look
You're getting
good.
good, yeah.
Look at this. That part's neat.
It's like clamshell lighting.
Oh, dude, delicious. I love it. But anyway, so this I thought was really neat. Talk us through a little bit of it. Now, some of this has been out already.
That's
Talk to
correct.
us a little bit about the concept here inside of the Flex.
So this is a flexible LED panel. We're all kind of aware of a traditional 1x1 light panel, but now we've kind of taken it a step further and made it a flexible unit.
Here,
Hence
I'm going
the
to
name
take this
Flex.
off
Yeah.
so that you can kind of play with it a little bit
banded
more.
up right now. But the cool thing is I can literally light a group. If I want to bend this 360 degrees, I can do that. And it will maintain its shape. I can sit that right on the table, maintains its shape. If I wanted to light just you, and I wanted it more of a snoot, more direct light, I could light just, I'm gonna feather it. If you look towards, I'm gonna feather kind of across. I can do just, edge lighting. Look at that.
That's awesome.
None on his face besides the house lighting. Or I can kind of bring it out and light his face completely. So
The fact that it's small,
Well,
and the
it's
fact that
paper
it's
thin, it's 5
bendable.
ounces.
I mean, so this I think is pretty, now bright, how bright? What are we talking about brightness here? So I gotta go over here.
it's gonna overexpose the, yeah, it's blinding. So the output on the 1x1, you're looking at about 2,000 lux at 1 meter. Output on the 1x2, 3,900 lux, which I just kind of teased.
Okay.
We do have larger sizes.
Right.
The iteration that we've had kind of up until, I guess at the New York show, we showed some of the larger sizes, but would be a 10x10 unit. Now we've got a 1x1, we've got a 1x2, we've got a 1x3, we've got a 2 foot by 2 foot, and we also have the little guy. So you have a little 10-inch by 3-inch, and that's really used more for accent lighting, hair lighting. You could mount that into the dash of a car, that sort of thing.
And that's the part that I think that sometimes it's overlooked for individuals that are working in this kind of space. Forget about, okay, so let's just start with the photographic side of it.
Sure.
If you had to do this previously on constant, first you had to deal with the concept of heat. which was a pain. We literally still deal with that to this day here on sets. We're like, at the end of a show, we're just sweating. Things have not been bright enough to do this before.
That's correct.
And now you guys are solving that problem here with things that are cool. So I think that that alone is a good thing. The second part, I think, has to deal with size. If I wanted to have something like this, if I were, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I would probably have to look at something like a TD6.
That's correct.
Right? So a TD6.
As far as output is concerned.
As far as output.
That's
So
correct.
if you were looking at a Westcott TD6 for the same output that you would have for this, you would have a light that's about this big. Good light, nothing wrong with it. Bulbs this big.
Beautiful soft light. But
Beautiful soft light that is really hard to be able to manage. This fits in my book bag. Three of them can fit in my book bag. So the fact that you have something that is this thin that produces that kind of light output on a photographic side, you can bend it, you can move it, I can hide it. So imagine doing a shoot where all of a sudden you needed to have a light on a person and you wanted a person to look like they were uplit from a computer. You could lay that right on the computer, turn it on, and now, oh, that looks pretty cool. But the part that I think that you guys added to this was the fact that it's bicolor. And we kind of just skimmed over that. Talk to us a little bit about that and why that's important.
Yeah, so we sell two different versions. We sell one that's daylight only. That's going to be a 5600 degree daylight unit. And the CRI, which is the color, the quality essentially of the unit is going to be at 95, which is really, really high in the world of CRI. And CRI is essentially how close is it to daylight? Daylight is always going to be the best light in the world. And we want our lights to mimic that. So the CRI on the daylight unit's a 95. The bicolor unit, the tungsten mode, you can get 98 CRI, which is almost unheard of in lighting. So really strong quality. It's not just, we've compacted LED chips into this flexible mat. We care about the quality as well for photographers and filmmakers. So that's So I'm sorry to answer your question. 2,800, a range of 2,800 degrees Kelvin, all the way through 6,000 degrees Kelvin in 10-degree increments. So I can literally dial it down. If I want to do 5640K, I could do that.
And I think that part is also when you look at photography. So if you look at the jump from photography into videography, the first thing that you're going to say to yourself as a photographer is, do I have enough light? Do I have enough output? Can I change the temperature? Maybe later.
That's an extra. Yeah.
It's an extra, but you're looking at, can I get enough light output? Can I get this thing to move with me everywhere? I don't know if people understand how much of a benefit there is to take something like this and fly it up in the air.
Of course.
Or move it down. No counterbalance. I mean, you probably should still counterbalance anything that you do or sandbag anything. But this thing is so light, you can move this and place this anywhere. That part, I mean, we haven't even talked about.
And one cool thing also, RC, if this was a trade show, I would normally throw it on the ground and jump up and down on it. It's that durable. They're LED chips, so if they fall, I mean, that's pretty loud.
Right.
No worries. And also the IP rating is 64, so that IP is dust and water, so I could pour water on it. You're not going to take it swimming with you,
But you can pour water on it.
But you can pour water on it. You can be out in the rain with it, essentially. And then at that point, we'd be pack your cameras up first, then get the lights, because these will withstand some rain.
So a setup like this. Now, who's presently, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Peter Hurley working on some of these right now?
We've actually got a kit with Peter. Peter has a 4-light kit using this, and he's got 2 of the 1x2s, 2 of the 1x3s, and all of the framing, all of the grip, 1 foot larger than that. So it's pretty impressive.
Now, Peter, previously for this, and you can't say anything, and I'll keep you out of it, but I'll say this. So if you haven't seen Peter's rig previously to this, the setup was 4 KinoFlows, right? So you have KinoFlows. So I'm not really paying attention too much to this, but what is the price of 1 KinoFlow? A lot.
A couple, $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what model.
You're doing it for a fraction of that. Yeah. He had 4 of them. I don't know if you know how thick the KinoFlows are, but they're 4 tubes, about yay thick.
I know the weight. They're about 70 pounds.
70 pounds. So now he's gone from that. So he is probably doing backflips and hugging you guys right now. Because
he fits
now
it all into his carry-on that he brings right on the plane with him. He'll go to a workshop. He'll go to a client. The travel has never been easier. And that's the greatest thing. Westcott has, made things more portable for travel, and obviously kept quality, at the top of our minds while doing so. So we really want things to be portable. You saw with the Rapid Box.
Can I talk about this? Can I talk about this right now?
Of course.
All right, hold up a second. So one of the other things, I'm going to take it from photographer to the video side. Right. As a photographer, I go out and I do outdoor shoots. One of the biggest things that I hate in outdoor shoots is to have to control sun. So a lot of the times, most of that stuff is all done through scrims. And I use your Scrim Jim, right? So I've used that, I've played with that, and I think it's good. But you guys have added some new stuff.
Yeah, we took it to the next level.
This part I thought was kind of neat. It's kind of like an erector set. I'm gonna pull this stuff out and just kind of get it together. And again, it's the little things, like the difference. Like, can you do this stuff? Yes, this would be fine. But look, I'm gonna need a close-up of this. This is your Scrim Jim. Now, if you haven't noticed right now, I have here Velcro on one side, I have Velcro on another side, and then I have a hole right here in this one section. Now, from here, I also have these little jobbies. What's this?
It's your positive locking system. So that's what makes the corners lock together with the actual frames.
So no more Velcro, no more playing around, no more trying to push all of this stuff in. All I have to do now is just grab this and push this in here.
Push it in. Yep. Locks in. You hear it. You hear that.
Now that's locked in place. So now I can grab this, and I'm going to grab the next one here. I'll take this guy out here. I'll grab this, and that's locked in place. I'm gonna grab
another corner piece.
I'll grab this guy right here.
You guys remember playing with Legos?
Yeah, it's literally Lego for photographers. I love this. I'm gonna grab this guy. I'm gonna stick this in there, and now I am building a Scrim Jim. That's not moving. Oh.
Yeah, so it's got its mounting built into it as well. It's got 3/8 female threads already built in, so you can mount it to a light stand. You can mount it to a tilter bracket. We've thought about this.
You've thought this through. You have thought this through. So I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to build this one thing right here, and then I'm going to
pop that one out.
Yeah, I'm
going
to build
put the corners in first.
Okay, so grab that.
Put the corners into this guy first.
Here, so build this for me here. So I think that this, and I was just talking to them about it. I'm looking for like a 12-foot by 10-foot Scrim Jim. I don't put it on stands and I'll sandbag it and all that stuff, but I need something big. But now you can build a set for this. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to bring this out and I'm going to fly it out, obviously the much bigger one, to do that. So that part I think was pretty cool, right? Because you could technically, right? So this is how the Scrim Jim would work, right?
Yep. So it's got the Velcro on both sides, which you mentioned. So you skin the front side with the Fusion.
Okay. So now if you were going out to a shoot, this is what you would do, right? So this could be big, it's small. Obviously, we're doing it small here.
If you wanted more diffusion or less diffusion, we've got quarter stop diffusion, we've got 1 1/4 stop diffusion. So you pick how diffused.
You can use it as a flag?
Of course, yeah. We've got black block, we even have reflective surfaces if you wanted to make this 8-foot by 8-foot and put a giant silver reflector on there.
Right. So now here's your Scrim, fully finished. Obviously, you would see this out there, and you're kind of fanning this, and this part I think is pretty cool. But now you don't have to use any kind of tying between these things because you have this, and now, but you still have this Velcro and kind of on this side.
Yeah. So let's get another flex.
So,
let's get our 1x2 flex back out here.
Wait a minute. So now, what if I did this? And I just thought this was really neat. I think because you guys have to kind of show this
around.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab this. Oh, it has the flexes Velcro. So now we'll go ahead and we'll put this together. And you've taken the exact same source.
Fire it up too.
All right, and I'm just going to turn this on here. Okay, there's my light.
Is it powered in?
Oh no,
it might not be powered.
I just unplugged it.
Yeah, because we did the.
I'm going to do this. All right, plug, plug, plug. We'll move this over here. And let's see here. But we can grab this and we can actually power it on. Now, I think I just lost my power on this side. Come on.
There we go.
There we go.
You're right.
So now
And still
you have,
bicolor, beautiful, soft light.
so you've just taken the Scrim Jim and you've turned it into an actual light.
So we've kind of, we literally have thought of everything. We think. Tell us if we're wrong, though. We want to improve this. And that's what Westcott, we really do. We listen to a lot of what the consumers say, and we want to...
Oh, wait, hold up a second. I want to turn this into a softbox. Hold up. Let me
add
do
one
this.
more thing.
Let's add one more thing. All right. So inside of here, I can grab this. All right. There's our one side.
This right here. And this folds flat. That's why it's kind of, done like that.
But we can add these components and mount this right to, oh wait, there's our flag, there's another flag, there's another flag, and now you can do that to the opposite side. I'll let you do that. But, so question, first thing is grids?
First thing is grids, yeah.
You knew it, somebody just finished asking, they're just like, grids?
Yeah. Wait,
and I'm
there's
like,
more. Grids currently are not an option, but we have already started experimenting what the best type of grid would be, whether it would be more of a honeycomb, whether it would be an egg crate, that sort of thing. So
I'm gonna put this last one in.
Yep.
But now you have an actual box. So from a photographer standpoint, you still have
softbox. We all know softboxes.
You still have to use a softbox. So you could build your own softbox if you're a photographer.
Yeah.
You can use the Scrim inside of it for outdoor stuff.
Yep.
You can use the light for photography stuff. Good enough for photography.
Great for photography.
And now you can control it in 10-degree increments on the video side. And I think that what happens on the video side when people take a look at that is you'll start noticing that temperature starts becoming really important
Right.
when you're working with most of this.
Absolutely.
So, what's this?
There's a battery as well. So what's cool is we have a D-tap cable. I don't know if you guys can see this, but a D-tap cable will work if you have an existing, like an Anton Bauer battery, anything with that P-tap connection point, this will work. But if you don't have a battery, we've created our own. It's a lithium-ion battery. To give you an idea on runtime, for the 1x1, 3.5 hours on a full charge. So plenty of runtime, and keeps you mobile with a mobile product. So,
and that's the part that I think is, I mean, you're talking about building stuff in a kit that's no bigger than a duffel bag.
Yeah.
And you can run around with an entire setup. And I think that stuff is really important. So for the outside, is it strong enough to fight the natural light like sunlight?
It's continuous light will never be as, well, never say never, but at this point, it is not as powerful as a strobe or a speed light. I actually saw a video of somebody with our 1x1 though, and this was one of the small original 1x1s in a sunroom. And they were testing the light, and it was competing with the sun very nicely. So I would imagine the 1x2 or the 2x2 rather, which was an idea by the DP of Saturday Night Live, Alex Pueno. He wanted us to make it bigger. That's how video guys are. And so the 2x2, I'd imagine, would do a really good job competing with the sun and making things pretty blue skies. And
here's a technical question that I wanted to ask you about this. So the earlier versions of this only had one series, right? One color.
Correct. They were either daylight or tungsten.
Okay. So that has a specific power. This has twice. This does both. What happens with this in terms of
as
power?
Far as
does
power
it cut
is
it in half?
concerned, no. What we did is we doubled the LED intensity. So if you have an original 10x10 daylight and you have our 1x1 bicolor, if you put them both on daylight, or if you put the bicolor on daylight, it will be equivalent output to the original because we've made them twice as powerful.
Okay.
On the bicolor unit, the LEDs are twice as powerful.
So there's a lot of information about all this stuff.
It is a lot.
If they wanted to get more information on this, where could they go?
Okay, so fjwestcott.com, and that would be kind of your source for all of the different kit configurations. This is actually what you're seeing right now is our homepage. We won Best Lighting Product at NAB, which was a great accomplishment. If you stay on this homepage for a little while, I'm actually going to do a little plug. We're actually doing a contest right now.
Oh, nice.
we're calling it 31 Days of Flex, and we are giving away a Flex. We're giving, we've got a bunch of great partners involved in that. Adobe teamed up. They're giving a year of the Creative Cloud. There it is.
Nice.
31 days to enter Flex gift
Enter
basket.
to win. I'm doing it.
RC is going to.
I'm entering to win right now.
And it's pretty simple. I mean, it's $3,500 worth of gear. A 1x2 bicolor cine set is the big prize, but also a lot of our friends at Adobe and
That's nuts.
Think Tank, Lens Pro, Photo Shelter, a bunch of great sponsors have helped us out on this contest. So go ahead and enter that. But yeah, that's where you'll find all of the information on the Flex.
That's awesome. That's very, very cool. Now, let's do this. Let's kind of wrap this up. Thank you so much for stopping by for most of this
Thanks for
stuff. I thought
having
that was
me,
really
man.
neat.
Appreciate
I
it.
wanted to talk about these products. I wanted to share it all with all of you guys. So make sure that you take a look at the Westcott website. We're actually going to have a bunch of different things that will be coming up. I'm not going to say anything more than that. You just might want to stay tuned on the KelbyOne side. There is a PeachBit ebook deal. I want to make sure that I talk to you about that. Make sure that you go to peachbit.com/KelbyOne, enter in the code KelbyOne, and you can get this book, HDR Photography from Snapshots to Great Shots. So if you want to learn from Tim Cooper on HDR photography, from Snapshots to Great Shots from PeachBit, you're going to get 40% off of that book. Thank you so much to our friends at PeachBit for that. The last thing that I want to do is the contest. And I'm going to make this really simple because I want everybody to kind of have that kind of interactivity. So I want you to go to facebook.com, just do something a little different, right? I want you to go to facebook.com/KelbyOneOnline. Right? So go there, facebook.com/KelbyOneOnline, and I want you to leave a comment. Tell us what you thought about the lights. Tell us what you're excited about this holiday season. Just leave us a comment over the next couple of days. I'm going to pick a random person for that, and that person is going to win 2 of my favorite books. The Digital Photography Photo Book Series by Scott Kelby. This is a great book that talks about all of the different techniques that he had from the book, from the series as a whole, collected in one spot, and the book from my master, Joe McNally, The Moment It Clicks. This is a book that still sits at my bedside today. Wonderful stories from one of the most gifted photographers of the age, in my opinion. Absolutely love the book. So one of you guys is going to win these 2 books from there. Brandon, again, thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure that you guys take a look at the stuff on Westcott. I appreciate you stopping by and taking a moment to talk to me.
Appreciate you guys having me.
So,
it was fun.
And thanks to all of you guys for watching. We will see you guys next week right here on the grid. Take care and good night.